Good morning. This is the video for the first play from the hanging point. Like some other videos we've seen, it has quite a bit of pre-fencing activity, and then the play itself is fairly short. So we'll take a look at it. I will talk about some parts, my mental shorthand, how we train it. So here's what they have to say. In the onset, slash through forcefully up from your left against his face in a wheel once, twice, and the third time let your sword swing before your face or turn to the hanging point as shown by the figure on the right in image F on the previous page. And do this once or a few times until you see your opportunity to lay on with the device. But while you thus stand in the hanging point, if your opponent cuts meanwhile at you from above, across, or from below, or also at your fingers, or against your left at your head, and then step at once with your left foot behind your right, out to his left, and at the same time as he cuts, pull your hanging sword up towards your right shoulder. From this position, cut against his left at his head, at the same time as him along with the step that I have just taught. In this cut, pull your pommel right to the inside of your arm on the sinew, thus your blade swings more powerfully at his head. Hold your pommel right on your arm and wrench with extended blade up towards your left. With this wrenching, let it fly around your head and deliver a thwart strongly in at his left. So it sounds like a lot, but it really is not that complicated. So what he's telling us to do is to cut upward with this false edge slash. And we've seen this in other videos. So we're coming up from the left now. 1, 2, 3. And now we have two options. We can let the momentum continue so that we cut in the hanging point, and I'll do that from the side. So we've come 1, 2, 3, and I'm just letting my false edge continue past my right shoulder until I end up in the hanging point. The other option is he says we turn. So 1, 2, 3, and now I'm just going to roll up into my hanging point. Either way, from this extended position, I'm going to end up in a hanging point. This is the uncrossed. So I'm not rolling into my crossed arm. I'm going to be in an uncrossed hanging point. Arms are moderately extended. I want a little bit of a cushion. I don't want it to be so tight on me that I'm going to get cramped, but I also don't really ever want to lock my arms. So kind of moderately extended, good cushion. From there, he says that the opponent attacks at our fingers, which are vulnerable. We have this over our head, or our left. What we're going to do is we're going to step our left foot back while we pull the sword a little bit towards our right shoulder, just so that we can cut strongly out. So we are cutting at their head and against their sword. So we've seen the counter cut to defend before. Once we're extended, we're going to give it a little wrench. So if our swords are bound, we're going to push off a little bit on their sword, roll around into a thwart cut, and that's the end of the play. Of course, we can leave with cut just to be safe. So the mental shorthand for this: slashing up from the left, 1, 2, 3, letting the cut continue to hanging guard, or 1, 2, 3, turn to hanging guard. Step away and counter cut, wrench and thwart. That's the whole play. Some notes on this kind of elaborate pre-fencing. I don't think this particular motion is super important in and of itself. I think Meyer's giving us a framework, a set of motions to practice fluidly using our hanging guard. A lot of people don't feel very comfortable using the hanging guard, or they don't feel comfortable fighting in and out of it. So I think this is a good way to practice going to extension and then rolling, or to extension and cutting back. You can just as easily practice thrust, roll back. You could throw an onside attack and come up. Anything that gets you comfortable extending out and back into this hanging guard, I think, is going to be useful. In terms of how I practice this on the Pel, I actually just frankly go from long point. So I don't necessarily do the 3 slashes every time. I'll face off against my Pel, extend, come into my hanging guard, step out to counter cut, thwart, and leave with cut. I might even attack, pull back into hanging guard, counter cut, thwart, leave and come back. Anything that gets me fluidly getting in and out of my hanging guard is going to be really important. So practice that. Just remember, if you want to do the play, 1, 2, 3, and you can let this roll, or 1, 2, 3, turn, counter cut, thwart, weave into a guard. If you are finding the hanging guard transition problematic or tough, of course feel free to message me, but I've done some previous videos on some hanging guard transition specific drills, so maybe take a look at those earlier videos. And I hope this is helpful, and we'll take a look at the next play next week.